Hey friends, Mario Cavallo here with Dragon Quartz Audio. The Dragon roars on. Many weeks I didn't post a video. I'm excited because I've got a couple of videos on my mind. We're going to get them posted up. This is the first one. I did a listening session comparing, and we've got so much to talk about in this regard to clear up misunderstandings about audiophile sound and great sounding speakers, especially stand mounts. I did this listening session comparing the $1,200 JBL530s and the Definitive Technology DT11s, not the DT9s, the DT11s. There's a difference there, so we're going to talk about that. What a great listening session I had. And there's just the devil's in the details, and it always is. Well, you know, and I think perpetually they will be for many years, there's my beautiful JBL530s in cherry wood. And we're the only ones that have them on the planet. If you want to buy them, they're not cheap. They're $950 plus shipping to your door. Yeah, okay. But they're JBL530s in cherry wood. That's still a 15% discount below the retail price. They're just amazing speakers with JBL's compression driver. And I'm going to put this one down. Hang on. And we're going to compare. I'm back. And then I did a listening session because with my local partner here in China, up in the Northeast in Shenyang, my local partner is the authorized JBL distributor for all of Northeast China. And he represents some other lines as well. He recommended to me, there they are, the Definitive Technology DT series, the DT7911, right? And he had a pair in his shop, and I looked at them and I says, I got to do a listening session comparing these two. So we ran these speakers through a very expensive Plinius power amp, integrated amp thing, like some $3,000-$4,000 amplifier. Okay. So no questions about that. And our source was a Marantz very nice PM6006 CD player. Come on, $500 CD player, terrific. These days, any $500 CD player these days sounds fabulous. I have a knob sound CD player here at home that's a $400 or $500 CD player, and I got it on sale, and I just can't believe how good it sounds. I mean, it's got an aluminum casing. I mean, it's amazing. So, yeah, made in China is a big thing these days, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about this listening comparison between these two speakers. What happened? What did I experience? And before I do, we have to do an ode to vinyl. We have to do our vinyl tribute 1 minute. Yeah, man. Look at this. This is my 70s vinyl. You must recognize this, right? Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. I mean, just incredible. These are all mine from when I was a teenager. So this one's, I think, I'm going to guess like 72. So that makes it, what, 47 years old. Doobie Brothers, early 80s, actually. Do I have a date in the back? Quick. 1974, Doobie Brothers, one of their best albums. What were once vices are now habits. At first listen, I didn't think this sounded that good, but then I was like, wait a minute, no, this sounds plenty good. There's a nice sound stage there. By the way, Doobie Brothers' Stampede is another fantastic album of theirs. And lastly, this is so important. Look what I just picked up. You notice this is Japanese. Can you imagine this? I found a vinyl shop here in Shenyang, and I walked in and I was like, oh, I can't believe you guys are here. And they're like, yeah, we love you too. And I told them about my beautiful Amari turntables and the whole business and everything. Got a nice vinyl shop, good selection. And look what I found. All their stuff is from Japan. I picked this up. I paid like nothing for this. I paid like $8 for this, and the disc is in great shape. It's a Japanese pressing of Billy Joel, 52nd Street. My favorite tune. Two tunes on that album, you can guess. Zanzibar. No, I have to say 3 tunes. Zanzibar, Rosalinda's Eyes, and Half a Mile Away. And believe me, they all sound fabulous. Japanese pressed vinyl, beautiful. Wow. Okay. Back to the JBL 530 versus the DT11. There's some background. If you check a review, and I have one in my phone, and I'm not going to, in front of you, bother opening it in my phone. I've got a PDF. Just trust me when I say this. I read a review, a substantial review of the DT11, which basically said, hey, these are 1800 retail stand mounts, definitive technology, and the top of the speaker, it's a rather deep stand mount. It's a very stylish black lacquer, very modern style, not old traditional nostalgic style, woody. It's very modern and slick looking. Superb materials. You see that offset tweeter. And in the top of the speaker is a passive radiator rather than a port. That's how they decided to deal with the bass. Size-wise, the cabinet is shorter and deeper compared to the 530, which is an odd-looking speaker, of, to say the least, with the JBL's compression horn, and then also the canted cabinet. So these are two extremely different stand mount speakers. In the review of the DT11 that I read, the bottom line is that the reviewer was like, "Whoa! So these are like $3,000 speakers?" And the guy said, "No, they're retail 1,800." Wow, no kidding. So there was a very long review about how resolute and accurate and wonderful the DT11 speakers are. Find the review online. I don't have it in front of me. I'm not going to share it with you right now, but that's how good they are. So the guy's like, "Yeah, I think these sound as good as $3,000 speakers." So from that frame of reference, we then talk about the JBL 530s. And the JBL 530s retail for $1,200. And here in China, they are expensive. Here in China, anything that's quality audiophile, JBL is the top of the heap in their professional gear, I shouldn't have to tell you. And definitive technology, well, let me just say lots of other brands, right? Sonos Fabera out of Italy, really expensive. Here in China, folks, this stuff is not discounted. You live in miracle land in the United States if you're able to buy any kind of audiophile quality stuff for half price, 50% off, or even 60, 70% off. It's a miracle. You don't know how freaking lucky you are. Okay, so, but that doesn't change how good the equipment is. In other words, if you could buy a Mercedes-Benz for a $50,000, $60,000 Mercedes-Benz for $25,000, that doesn't mean everybody thinks that Mercedes-Benzes are no longer worth $60,000, because they are. You're just a lucky son of a bitch, okay? And not very many people get to buy one for $25,000. So this is the case with JBL. I don't know what's going on with Amazon and JBL, but I don't like it. Okay, and I don't like Amazon, and I don't like Jeff Bezos, because they're destroying the retail economy of the United States. And I don't think that they should be putting liquidation prices on great gear. I think prices and quality should be protected. Fine. That's a rant for another video. Back to the JBL 530s. Retail $1,200. We sell them for $950. That's a good price. And so if you happen to be able to get them at a liquidation price, which some people recently mentioned, good for you. Congratulations. My God, you're so lucky. But of course, they were just in butt ugly black. So you have to just, unless you like black, but in cherry wood, they're magnificent, as you just saw. In black, they're, ugly, but you may find them tolerable. And if that's the case for the sound quality, yes, grab them. And then go ahead and buy your own vinyl wrap or cover them with a cloth or gold wallpaper or something. Do whatever you need to do, because the JBL 530s are heavenly. Now I'm going to reference some different people along the way here. The JBL 530s are heavenly. So I just told you, reviews say the DT11s are awesome, and they are. They are terrific, resolute, amazing sounding speakers. I don't know how speakers can sound any better, and that's the point that I want to make to all of you today. Folks, when you're listening to music at medium volume through really good speakers like the DT11s or the JBL 530s, through a really good amplifier, say a minimum as good as, say, like a Sprout 100, right, or something similar. I mean, that's your minimum, okay? Marantz 8006, or some would say that that's not as pure sounding. There's lots of choices out there, but even in the $500-600 range, you can get yourself a really nice, clean, genuine audiophile quality amplifier. The people selling you $10,000 amplifiers don't want to hear that, of course, don't want you to know that. Okay, so once you've got your source down pat, you're great, and then you're listening to really nice speakers. Folks, I listen to JBL Array. That's the one, you know, big fat on the bottom with the horn, the horn up here. JBL Array. They're like $15,000, okay? I was listening to them in the same listening room here in JBL at the JBL dealer, my partner here in China, right next to the JBL530s. You couldn't really tell any difference at all. There was no quality difference, okay, at medium volume levels. That's the trick. Now, so what kind of music are you talking about? Jazz trios, right? Music that isn't like, you don't need a 12-inch driver and 10,000 watts to be able to shake the room. I don't give a shit about that. So that doesn't count. It doesn't matter. You're listening to speakers. You're listening to Oscar Peterson trio, medium high volume, and you're listening to the bass. Ba-doom, 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 boom, and you're listening to the space and the clarity and the sweetness of the drums and the cymbals and the piano. Horn, if it's Maynard Ferguson, I've got a Blue Note disc with Maynard Ferguson. It's an SACD with all the brass. Wow! Okay, at medium volume levels with JBL compression horns. Whew. Man, oh man. So you're listening and you're going, wow, that sounds amazing. The other day I was in Beijing. I listened to $30,000 Sonus Faber Cremonas. They are this fat wide. They're this frickin' tall. There they were in the JBL, my partner's place in Beijing. His high-end audio salon, being pushed by twin monoblock Macintosh, okay? I listened, and I listened to a tune, and I went, and I sat there and I listened, and I went, yeah, the sound is coming from the stage between the speakers. Here, the sound is there, it's all separate, and it's all really, really clear. That's it, you're done. I came home, I listened to the same music in my living room with the JBL530s, and I went, there, the sound's the same. I was like, yeah, it sounds just as good in my living room. Now, come on. If they were side by side in the same room, I could probably say, oh, come on, this one sounds better. But for heaven's sake, excuse me, I almost said a really bad word. Okay, you know, talking $100,000 system compared to $5,000 or $3,000, right? So let's stop with the nonsense. All right. JBL 530s at $1,200 and DT11s at $1,800. We could pick another pair of speakers. I haven't listened to them yet, and I will. Revel Concerta M16s. They're also like they're like a $2,000 stand mount pair. I would love to compare them as well, and I haven't yet. Okay. All of these speakers sound fabulous. You don't gain much at all when you start spending much more money, okay? All right, that's my preamble. Specifically what happened when I listened to the differences between the JBL 530 and the DT11. There were very specific differences, and this is very important for you to know, because it's just all about preference when you're in this stand mount category, right? It's about important preferences, because you're going to spend your hard-earned money, because you're not that rich. Because if you were that rich, you'd be buying $3,000 to $10,000 a pair of stand mount speakers, right? Like Sonus Fabers, or I don't know, Wilson's or something. Okay, so you care about your money and you want great sound, but you also want sound that the profile that matches. Speakers have a different character, things that are not measured in the specifications at all. The size of the soundstage that the speaker throws is immeasurable. It's a personality characteristic of the speaker, for example. Okay. So the JBL 530 and the DT11, I'm telling you point blank, sounded equally wonderfully good. I was actually very surprised. I'll start from the top and work my way down. I was very surprised at how incredibly similar the treble sounded. And I'm talking about the cymbals, the highest treble, the finest treble of the cymbals, and the highest of acoustic guitar. I was very surprised because here I am sitting and I'm listening, and I'm going, okay, there's the cymbals, there's the space, there's where they are, the drums, the separation of the drums, complete 100% separation of the drum instruments. You know, the snares here, the cymbals here. You could hear all the full separation of it, and I'd listen to it. Wow, there it is. And then I switch speakers, listen to the 530s, and then I'd listen to the exact same thing to the DT11s and go, God, I can't tell any difference. And there's the drums. There it is. One did not sound any harsher. One didn't sound any particularly more refined. One didn't sound any crispier. One didn't sound any harsher in the snare. None of that. They sounded very similar in terms of that frequency response and sound profile in the high end. Okay? Now we move to the upper mids and into the mids, and what happened. This is where the speakers are different. And again, not one any better than the other. These are both amazing sounding stand mounts. So what was different? The DT11 sounded more like a smaller space speaker. It sounded more like a near field monitor. And I did not throw a large space. It seemed like the amount of mid-range was coming from here. Whereas with the JBLs, it was just more open and big and bold, and I'm going to reference a couple of other reviewers on that in a moment. So there was a qualitative difference, okay? But the clarity, the trumpet, the saxophone, the guitar hits, all of it equally clear and separated in the soundstage. No blurring or weird sounding shit coming out of either of these speakers, okay? But the DT11s definitely, you could notice as you get into the full range of the mids, and of course now we're going to move down into the bass, they're more of a smaller near field type style. The JBL's a much bigger, bolder, not much bigger, bolder sound, but an obviously bigger, bolder output of sound. Okay. And then the most important thing, the mid bass. This is really interesting to me because the JBL dealer said to me, Mr. Tong, he said, nega nega ding nuani dian, jishi DT11 ding nuani dian. Now this is Chinese for the mid bass of the DT11 is you're gonna notice it sounds warmer than the 530. I was like, okay. I know exactly what he means by that. And sure enough, specifically when you're listening to these two speakers, they sound really, really similar, except for that mid-bass warmth. And I'm not talking a boomy, bad mid-bass warmth. I'm just talking about a character, a bit of warmth there in the mid-bass. Not a boomy, incorrect bump at 100 hertz that sounds bad and muffles the bass. Nothing like that. A mid-bass warmth. I think it's up. Where is it? I don't know where it is. I think it's, I'm going to say it's somewhere around 80, 70, 80 hertz. It's not deep. It's mid-bass warmth. And again, we're talking about a very high quality speaker. So we're not talking about a kind of mid-bass warmth that muffled the bass or makes male voices too chesty. Just right, just enough. Now, we go into the bass. Bass. Both equally fast, articulate, clear, and clean, every bass note. And now here's the interesting thing. The DT11 that I compared to the JBL530 is not the DT9. The DT9 is their 5 1/4 inch two-way. And the JBL is a 5 1/4 inch two-way, and it's a freaking miraculous 5 1/4 inch two-way. The DT11 is their 6 1/2 inch two-way, and the bottom end of the bass is the same. The bass response, the output of bass, which one sounded deeper? Neither. they both put out a damn nice bass down to like 42, 45 hertz range. That's exactly where the JBL's port is tuned to, and it puts it out. You know, I honestly, I do not own a subwoofer, and I have no intention of buying one. If you listen to that kind of music where you want huge amounts of bass, that's great, but I'm mostly listening to, you know, Bob James and Earl Klug and piano jazz. You know, I know that there's deep bass that's not there. I just don't miss it, because the JBL530s are amazing. They go down to like that 42 hertz, and they do. I'm so surprised how much bass they have. It boggles my mind. So now I want to go back and reference some of the reviewers. Number one, Zeos had originally mentioned the JBL530s as his number one for a long time. So yeah, man, they sound incredible, and there's a reason for it. It's a JBL compression driver. I want you to understand very clearly, the JBL 5 Series is the speaker in which the first consumer line speaker that JBL, where they have their $10,000 speakers, $5,000 speakers, and even more, with their compression horns. It's not a horn-loaded dome tweeter. Okay, it's their JBL Pro Quality, what they use in stadiums and theaters and live settings. It's a compression horn. Okay, this is their first home line, the 5 Series, where they put the compression horn. And folks, it is one badass sounding speaker, which I reference now to. Hats off to the second guy, and that is Sean over at Zero Fidelity. He made a little comment to me in one of his videos. I'd made a comment, and he replied to me, and he said the perfect words to describe the JBL 530. He says, oh yeah, the JBL 530s. They sound big and bold, and they're not the last word in refinement. That's almost like an exact quote of what Sean said. And I have to agree with him 100%. And when he wrote that, it was the moment that I realized why I personally, as all of you know, fell in love with the JBL 530s. And that's what it is about them that had me blown away. I put them in, and I have them in my living room. And again, I'm like about 17 wide by 33 long, 34 long. Nice big living room space, and plenty of space to pull them away from the wall. They're at least that far away from the rear wall and from the two side walls. And that's what it is. I would listen to the JBL 530s and be like, number one, read some reviews, and you know that you're like thrilling mid-range clarity and highs. Thrilling is a word, and it is. It's thrilling how clear and wonderful they sound. However, it's a bit of a JBL compression driver live sound. They're bold. Ergo, not the most refined sounding speaker in the world. In the high end, like sweet, silky. No. Are they harsh in any way? Hell no. It amazes me how harsh they're not. But again, no, they're not that last word in refinement. Oh my God, what great speakers they are. Now the DT11s, in their reviews and their aluminum offset tweeter, nice. Again, not a touch of harshness. Just really sweet, clean highs. Was the DT11 more refined sounding than the JBL? And the answer is nope. I'm telling you, I listened to the two, and I was just like, no, man, they sound like the cymbals were almost, the sounds of the cymbals were almost identical. This leads me to the last point I want to make, which is about the mid-bass hump of the DT11s. You know, it's a funny thing. Tharbamar, the other gentleman who you should subscribe to, he does a lot of nice comparisons. He does a very good job, and he loves his Kef LS50s. And he says, oh, they're better than the JBL 530s. And they're about, what, $1,500 a pair. And if you watch Tharbamar, his setup, he's there listening near field. He has him there, and he's on his couch, and he's doing all kinds of things to tweak, and it's wonderful. He does great. He's wonderful. Kudos to Tharbamar for his great videos as well. But again, he's there doing exactly what Steve Guttenberg said about the KEF LS50s, which is that they're near field. They're near field monitors. And again, I'm like, oh, you say, well, they're better than the JBL530s. Bullshit. No, they're not. They're different. Okay? They're near field monitors. They have that near field accuracy kind of thing going on. Okay, fine, whatever. Right? Okay? The JBLs freak me out because the JBLs throw a soundstage the entire size. How do these little speakers do it? It's just amazing. They throw a frickin' soundstage that's invisible. Speakers are gone. It's the size of the entire side of the room sometimes. You feel like that's how big it is. You just can't even believe how big it is. Depth, height, down to the floor. I have my speakers up high. You should have your speakers up high. The tweeters are, when I'm sitting down, the tweeters are like a little bit, maybe 20 centimeters, a few inches actually higher than my ears. That's where they should be. And I listen to the music, and there are times, especially when I put on vinyl, where it sounds like the music is actually coming from down here, like the floor, where the band is sitting. And you you look at the room. I look at my room and I go, it's like an optical illusion. The sound is coming from down here. There's the stage. And the speakers are up here. And I'm like, how's the sound going down? It's just down there. I mean, it's just amazing. Okay, great. But Tharbamar mentions, he tries to say that the JBLs have a bass hump. And so to make it sound like they have more bass. Now, if he's talking about a bass hump, we have to now talk about that, because I just finished telling you that as I was listening to the DT11s compared to the 530s, and the JBL dealer, Mr. Tong, told me in advance this was going to be what I was going to notice. He says the DT11s have a mid-bass warmth that the 530s don't have, and sure enough, there it was, clear as can be. You could notice the difference. But then Tharbamar's over here saying the JBLs have a bass hump to make it sound like they have more bass than they really actually have. So I'm assuming what he's talking about might be what he's perceiving as some kind of a bass hump that's lower than around 70, 80 warm. Because the JBLs have no warmth whatsoever, other than this wonderful natural sound. They don't have this warm mid-bass hump. So, but they sound deep. So I think the mid-bass hump that Tharbamar is talking about is a deeper cycle. I think he's talking about maybe something that's a boost, because the port is 40. The JBL's port is tuned to that 42, 43 hertz. And that's boosting that bass to the maximum possible it could be, I guess, in that 40 to 55, 60 hertz range. And maybe that's why I'm like, I can't believe how much bass the JBLs have, and that's the bass hump that Tharbamar is talking about. But again, in comparison to the DT11, the bass is I feel, more clearer and articulate than the DT11, because they don't have that mid-bass warmth. Everything I just said is absolutely subjective, and this is the end of my video. Enjoy. All those little comments about what preferred this and that, and the JBL throws a much bigger soundstage. It does, it's amazing, and you may not like that. You may be like Tharbamar, who wants that near-field LS50. Sit there and, What a great story comparing two awesome speakers. See you later. Thanks very much, folks. Mario Cavallo here with the Dragon Roars On. Dragon Quartz Audio. We're having a good time here in China, and we'll ship our stuff to you anywhere in the world. I got an inquiry from Spain and Saudi Arabia within the last 2 weeks. One guy's interested in buying an Amari turntable. The other guy's interested in buying the JBL speakers. What a cool thing. What a great life. Enjoy the music, whatever gear you have. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.